Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 1993 Toyota Chaser. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 6 that has been twin turbocharged, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. And if you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshal.com/overdrive, where I'll be writing a complete article about the Chaser. But let's get back to that twin turbo inline 6, also known as a 1JZ. Now this is actually my first ever time dealing with a JZ motor. I get asked a lot, what do you prefer, RB or JZ, or RB26 or 2JZ, that sort of thing. And my answer has always been, I've never driven a car with a 1JZ or 2JZ. Well, now I finally get to squash that and see how a 1JZ is. And right off the bat, obviously twin turbos help out, but you really do feel the down-low torque of a 6-cylinder. That's always the benefit of adding more cylinders, is you get more down-low torque. A lot of people are like, oh, there's no replacement for displacement. And yeah, you can make a really fast 4-cylinder, but it's hard to make a 4-cylinder that has really good torque down low unless you go really big displacement, such as a 3.3 liter inline 4 or something of the sort. Unfortunately, I can't get too much on it because it is rainy outside. It's November here in Illinois, and of course it's cold, it's raining. The grip isn't really my friend right now, but just from a little pull, I can already tell this thing wants to go. Now, like I said, paired to it is a 5-speed manual transmission. So far, it hasn't done anything weird. It feels like a Toyota transmission. Let me see if I can get on it a little bit here. Traction control helping out. That was a pretty decent pull, and that was pretty impressive. That was a lot of fun. The nice thing about twin turbos is that they do kind of kick out a lot of boost lag. So that's the thing about the Chaser, is that it's not really shouty about the fact that it is twin turbo. Sure, the engine cover does say twin turbo, but there's no loud blow-off valve, there's no really loud boost noises. It doesn't kick. It really gives you a lot more solid, a lot more linear rev range as opposed to a larger single turbo. Now, some people prefer large single turbos, and that's awesome. Single turbos are really cool. If you want to see my reaction to a big single turbo, check out my Evo 8 review, because that thing was a big single turbo. But also, the Chaser is rear-wheel drive, so that is why I'm also struggling here in the rain a little bit. So let's talk about the interior. In front of me, I have really, really plain gauges. Nothing really too special about them. I have a tachometer, I have my temperature, I have my fuel, and I have my speedometer, which of course is in kilometers. Nothing too crazy there. On the right, I do have power mirror options, which one is nice for 93, but also I do have a button that will fold in the mirrors. So if you live in the city or something like that, you can fold the mirrors in and they won't get taken off on a side street. I think that's really, really helpful. To the left, I actually have a pretty interesting button. What it is way in the back, there's actually an air purifier. So I can kind of hear it right now. I can switch this off either to low or off or auto, and it literally just purifies the cabin air within the car, which is something you don't see in American cars even today. I've actually never seen that in a car, and I was kind of curious as to what that was. In the middle, I get a little clock. I get my climate control options, which does have an auto climate control option, which is really nice. Like I said, for a 1993, auto climate control, that's a big deal. At least here in the States, even my 2007 Pontiac doesn't have automatic climate control. So that's really, really neat. Then there is an aftermarket radio, but it is a Japanese aftermarket radio. That's what you heard at the beginning of the video. Super, super cool. It's accurate to a radio that someone would have put in Japan, because someone in Japan did put it in. It's in Japanese. I struggled to turn the volume down when I first got into the car. Then there's a little coin slot. There's a cigarette lighter to the right of that. And then there is the traction control off button. So like I mentioned earlier when I was doing the pull, this car does have traction control. And that's kind of also a big deal for 1993. I'm thinking back to, other 90s cars that I've driven, most specifically in RX-7, that I did. I did a 1991 RX-7, and it did not have any type of traction control. Then, of course, you have your shifter, which the shift knob has since been replaced out, but nothing too special there. Otherwise, you have another little ashtray and then your center console. Also, on the dashboard, you don't get an airbag, but you do get a really big glove box that is essentially where the airbag would be. The interior is nice. You get this nice fabric. I don't know quite what it is. It's a nice cloth. It's not as nice as the Nissan Cedric that I drove. All right, so I am in the back of the Chaser now. Not really too much back here. As a matter of fact, I don't actually even get cup holders, or at least cup holders I can see. There are 2 seat back pockets here. It says Chaser on the floor. Really, it's comfortable back here. Very, very comfortable. Like I said, with a lot of other 90s super sedans that I've reviewed from Japan, very cushioned back here. It would be very, very pleasant to ride back here. But other than that, not too crazy. I do get little ashtrays in the doors, power windows, and I do get large speakers in the doors. But other than that, not a whole lot going on. Like I mentioned earlier, the air purifier is right behind my head. So if you do have rear passengers, I would turn it on low or off because that'll be really loud in their ears. But these 90s big sedans, they did a lot right. They had really, really good engines. Like I said, this has the 1J in it. They're very, very plush. They're very comfortable. They're rear wheel drive. They made really good cars in the 90s. And I think the difference is that today's luxury cars, they will die by leather. Every new luxury car has leather. And leather's nice, sure, but it never gets to be as comfortable as these big plush cloth seats. I don't know why auto manufacturers strayed away from these big bolstered seats, but they did, and honestly, I kind of miss it. Now, one thing I sort of don't like, I'm a little mixed on, is the looks of the Chaser. Because I don't think it looks that out there. It doesn't look that crazy. If you saw the thumbnail, if you look at the visuals that I'm showing, it kind of looks like a big Toyota Camry, which makes sense. They would have the same sort of design culture as the Camry, being both Toyotas. But it doesn't really pop. What is cool is on the outside there are these little parking lights that kind of stick up. That is cool, and when you walk by that sort of does give a little bit of an exclusive feel to it. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of distinctive features of the Chaser. And another thing is, you might be seeing the video and you might be thinking, that kind of looks like a Toyota Mark II. And I'm not for sure why this was, but a lot of Japanese companies in the 90s, they shared platforms but gave the cars different names. We saw that with the Nissan Cedric that I reviewed, is also the Nissan Gloria, just with a few different features. For instance, the Mazda Miata is the same thing as the Yunos Roadster. There was a lot of this going on in Japan, and so if you see this and you think, oh, that looks like a Mark II, it kind of sort of is. The Chaser was the more driver-oriented version of this chassis. So if you wanted something for more spirited driving, that's not to say that this is like a complete toge monster, but it handles well, and it's a very well driving car. And if you wanted a bigger four-door car and you were into driving, this is the car that you would want to get over the Mark II. So going forward, I don't really know if we'll ever see a car quite like the Chaser ever again, or quite like the 90s. I almost want to call them super sedans. I don't know really what class to call them, like the Cedric, like the Chaser, like the Laurel. There's so many of these big sedans that were rear-wheel drive and turboed. I don't know if we'll ever see cars like this again, because a lot of auto manufacturers are switching to all-wheel drive. A lot of auto manufacturers are straying away from bigger engines. They're going for four-cylinder turbos that are good on gas but have a little bit of power for passing, but really not that much. I don't know if we'll ever see a car like the Chaser really ever again. And that's what also makes this car so special, is that it is kind of one of a kind. I mean, a lot of today's luxury cars check a couple of the boxes that the Chaser does, but not all of them. Yes, I've driven six-cylinder twin-turbo cars. I actually reviewed one, which was an Infiniti Q50. That was fun, but it was all-wheel drive and automatic. I've driven manual luxury cars like the Audi S4, but again, that was all-wheel drive and not really driver-oriented. I really do think that the 90s were a really special time for cars, and this just really is the final nail in the coffin for that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 1993 Toyota Chaser. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshall.com/overdrive. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really like to. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.